We are holding Perek Daled Hilchos Nedarim Halacha Zayin. That's what we're going to talk about today. Where one of the big things that are discussed in halachas of Nedarim and Shuas is the union of She'ela, the ability to recant a neder. So the Rambam paskins as follows, and we're going to read it inside. Kshem shenis nish'olin al nidrei ha'isur u'matir noisei kach nish'olin al nidrei hegdish u'matir noisei. Just like you can, as we know, there are two types of nedarim. Nidrei isur, which is a person says he's not gonna. This food should be us to him. This thing should be us to him. And then there's Nidrei Hegdish, which is somebody makes something into a carbon, into a Hegdish. Doesn't matter. So he has already discussed that you could be shayel, you can recant and take back by having a good reason for it. The Nedarim of Isur. You can also do that in Nidrei Hegdish, Umatir, and I say, obviously through a bezin, through three people. Now he explains when we say Nidrei Hegdish, bein Nidrei Kotche Bedek Abayis, bein Kotche Mizbeach, whether it's Kotche Bedek Abayis or Kotche Mizbeach. With one exception, Ve'ein Nish'olin ala Temurah. However, you cannot do Shaila on a Temurah, on a Hegdish that you created through Temurah. The logic behind it is, the Kesef Mishnah at least says, that the logic behind it is because how does the Shaila work? You go over to the Rabbanim or to the three Dayanim and you tell them that I made a mistake. I wouldn't have made this neder under this condition that I realized it was there. Great. Temurah works. Shaygig amazing. It doesn't matter. There's no mistakes in Temurah. You do it by mistake, it's still Temurah. So therefore, it doesn't work. Therefore, you can't do a shayla. What am I going to do? There is nothing I can say to make it a shayla. Mishnah Melech and others bring a Yerushalmi in Perek Hey of Nazir Halacha Aleph, where the Yerushalmi says there, Rabbi Yirmiyah b'shem Rabbi Chuna or Chayna Rabbi Yechiski Rabbi Achem b'shem Rabbi Yechanan. Everybody agrees that Ein Nishal Al Temurah. They argue whether you can be shayil on Hegdish. The Machlekes b'sham b'Hillel. B'sham say you can be shayil on. You can't be shayil on neither on Temurah or Hegdish. And Hillel say that one can be shayil on Hegdish and cannot be shayil on Temurah. And again, the logic of Hillel is easier to understand, but let's see what the Gemara says about that. So the Gemara in Nazir, and Daf Lamed Amud Beis, and Daf Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph, discusses Hegdish Tois, and it says as follows: Beis Shammai Aimim Hegdish Tois Hegdish, Beis Hillel Aim Ein Hegdish. You can't make Hegdish b'Tois. And it gives an example, and the Gemara explains what's the machlekes. Beis Shammai say we learn Tchilas Hegdish and Seif Hegdish. Just like Temurah works b'Tois, so Hegdish can be b'Tois. And Beis Hillel say no. Listen to the words of Beis Hillel. Hami mili Temurah. That's Temurah, but what achusei hegdish, to make hegdish happen in a mistake, it can happen. So Rashi explains, Hanimili Temurah, because Temurah comes mikoyach hegdish. Temurah is a result of another hegdish, but to create a new hegdish that you can't. Now, what logic is there? What difference does it make how I make the Hegdish? Should I make it this way? I make it that way? That's going to be explained. Now the Gemara comes along with an addition on the Avlamed Beis in Nazir. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, me the Beis Shammai, Nishmala the Beis Hill. We can take the Shammai's logic, apply some of it to Beis Hill, and learn the following. Lav Amar Beis Shammai Hegdish B'tois have a Hegdish. Kivon Digloy Milsa the Lav Shap in Noza takes it to Hegdish. Now, what happens to the behemoth? Guy made a Nazir, and he undid it. And he made a Magdish of behemoth. What happens to the behemoth? Done. It was a mistake. Listen to this. Lebeis Hill Anami. Listen, logic. Even though they say that if you make a mistake on the Temurah, it's okay. But how does Temurah work? I have an animal that's Hegdish, and I say this one should be like this, or take it instead of this. So what happens if I'm shoyel on the original Hegdish? I take it off. And the same way that the Shammai say that you take off the Nazirus, the behemoth becomes ice kachim, take off the Temurah, the result of the Temurah becomes ice Temurah. And the logic, again, there's a Rishonim that say over there that it is as if he said on a behemoth chulin. That behemoth is not hegdish. Okay, I want to bring together a number of points on this Rambam that are mentioned. Some of them are mentioned by others, some of them are not, but we'll just go through them. The Rambam does not mention this halacha that if somebody is shoyel on the first hegdish, the Temurah is not a Temurah. The Temurah loses its kedusha. The question is why. A lot of discussion about it, but back to Ram doesn't bring it. Everybody's struggling to figure out what's the mucker that you don't have, you can't be shoyel on Temurah. So the Sefer Meiser Keach and the Rambam says, I don't understand what the question is. There is a Mishnah in Masechtas Temurah that anybody who's Meimer gets Malchus. Right? And if you get Malchus, if I can be Shayel, I can't get Malchus because I can always go Shayel. You should say that only if you're not Shayel. Okay, but now the question is even deeper. If it were to work by being shayel on the original Hegdish, you still have a problem with the Mishnah. How do you make a blanket statement? He could be shayel on the original Hegdish. And therefore there won't be Temurah either. It's not a kasha that you can't live with, but it's a good horror. What does the meaning, as we asked, this Husay Hegdish and Trilas Hegdish? Well, Temurah is a Hegdish, just a different form of Hegdish. Rashi uses a lashon Asya Mikoyach Hegdish. It comes from Koyach Hegdish. What do these things mean? I have another aura on the Rambam. The Rambam talks about Temurah in a short portion of the Sefer Yad HaChazaka. It's called Hilchis Temurah. And in Hilchis Temurah, he starts off Perik Aleph and begins with Kol HaMeimer Leike Al Kol Behemoth Behemoth Sham. You get Malchus if you do Temurah. Our whole Perik is about what Temurah works with, what it doesn't work with. Now, as of now, I learned the whole parak about Temurah. I have no idea what Temurah is. What is this? What did I do? Oh, parak beis Temurah hu sheyemer balakar mal behemas chulin sheyesh le'arezu tachazu arezu chalifazu. And then it talks about these cases, when it works, when it doesn't. I mean, if I were writing halachis, And I think anybody writing halachas, and the Rambam for sure, who is such a medagdik in the way he presents things, he should have started off a whole parak with base. Tell us what Temurah is, how it happens, and then tell us what happens if you do it. It's like a pella to me, and I don't see people asking that, but to me, it's like a pella. Why would the Rambam do this? Another point. In Temurah, we find a very interesting lashon in the Gemara and in the Rambam. Instead of writing the word your meimerba, the lashon oiseh Temurah, you make Temurah. What does that mean? Make Temurah, oiseh Temurah. So what the lashon? What is it supposed to mean? Another question. Rambam in Hilchos Temurah writes famous halacha, which the Gemara discusses, but the Rambam makes an emphasis on something that the Gemara seems to say it doesn't make. There's nothing to discuss. There's no veer there. Ain't other meimer behemte bekarben sheina shalai. That I cannot say I am going to make Temurah off that guy's animal, even though the animal's not mine. But then you can do it. How that works is a discussion, but I think after we're done, we may have a certain understanding. And then the Rambam goes into a in-depth explanation of that first statement. Okay, so again, if you look at the Gemara in Temurah Daftes, the Gemara brings the Gemara wants to say that you will meimer somebody else. I said, I don't even know what to discuss about it. It doesn't belong here because it's a double pashut, and the Rambam seems to put stress on it that this is an important halacha. It's not even halacha. The fact that Rambam already said many times, the magdish davar shein shalei. So what's the chiddush here? Why is he saying this here? And the question really goes on the next step. If the guy says, right? How did that become suddenly mine? He didn't sell it to me. All right, so listen, there's a lot of discussion on Temurah, and I'm not getting into the big talk. But I would like to suggest using the words of the Rambam. Now, at the end of Hilchos Temurah, Perek Dalet Halacha Yud Gimel says something very, very interesting. And he says, "Afal pisha kol chuki HaTorah gzeira," even though Torah is gezeiros, we don't understand them. Kashmiarn, Sefer Ilah, Ra'ui lehizbeinim behem. We should take our time to analyze. Chol mash out the yochel litein loitan tenlei. Whatever you can give reason, give reason. Interesting approach. What does that mean? Give reason. I mean, are we supposed to just, I guess you're supposed to treat it, see if you can come up with an understanding to what it means. So now the Rambam gives a time for Temurah. Listen to this. Yearly. If a person was magdish for regular behem, Shema Yachzebay. He may want to go back on the ideal, exactly what we were talking about. He may want to do Shayla. But we even Shayna Yachal if dice, but he can't redeem it. And I don't know why he doesn't want to do Shayla. Maybe he can't come up with a good excuse. Yachli Fana the postman. He's going to exchange it. And Dietmar Yishus Lahachla Barabi Yafa Yachla Yafa Barat. Now, let's say, okay, good. So we should say, don't exchange for less, but for more, who cares? No, because it's going to be a mateva, and he's going to say to me, this is good. Now, listen, it's shut out this whole idea. Now, the konsoi and made a knas in hichle. Made a knas. That if you attempt to exchange, boom, they're both cage. Okay, and you can learn a number of things here, but I want to just bring out I maybe the Rambam is telling us that Temurah is not my action, is not my maise. It's a knas. Oh, you could say that the knas is only that both remain kodesh, but I don't think so. That's not. I'm not sure. I believe you can read it into this. The konsai in hichlif. If I did the oiset Temurah, I did the maise Temurah, maybe, and the Torah said this is what's going to be. So perhaps it's not really a real hegdish. It's a oiset Temurah. The hegdish comes from Shemayim. It's not him. That's, again, I'm building on the words, and you could learn it a little different, but it would work beautifully in many of the things that we mentioned, and others that I'm not going to mention. Oh, if that's the case, the Rambam in Perek Aleph wants to stress we're talking about a maise Temurah. It's not. The details don't count right now, just the Isser counts, because that's what it's about. Going and doing the Meimer, Oiseh Temurah. So he spends a perik telling you how this is not allowed, because that's where the whole Hegdish comes from. It doesn't come from the Hegdish and therefore it's not allowed. It comes from not being allowed, therefore there's Hegdish. And that's why Perik Beis talks about how it happens. If that's the case, then I'm saying the Rambam mentions the Magdish Dor Shein Shalai. It's a big Hiddish. Because this is not real Hegdish. Maybe here it would work. And what would be the Knas? You'd have to pay. And the answer is no, you can't do that. You can't create you can't take somebody else's animal and make it English. Doesn't matter. You can't make it somebody else's animal. Even with the Torah won't do it. The Magdish Dover Shein Shalai, the Torah won't do it. And here's a Chiddush. There's a Chiddush to it. Again, what's the Knas? The Knas is you'll have to pay. It says a Shein Nick. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Oh, if that's the case, we can understand why Temurah is Chal B'Tois. Because it's not his action of Hegdish. As long as he does the Maisa, the Torah makes it happen. And of course, you can't be shayil because it's not your act of Hegdish. That's why you can't be shayil. Not because it works for shayil. I can't be shayil on something that's not mine. I didn't do it. Now we understand why the Rambam doesn't bring this halacha in the Gemara of his economic Temurah, that if you take away the Hegdish, the Temurah goes away too. Because the Rambam believes that this is not your Hegdish, it's your Maise. The Maise Aveira, that's Perek Aleph, causes Perek Beis. That animal ain't there anymore, it doesn't matter. Because you did a Maise Aveira, now the Torah made the Knas, the Torah gave a Hegdish. How did the Rambam go against the Gemara? Because the Rambam holds that the Mishnah says clearly always there is Malchus, and if you could take off the Hegdish original one, and therefore the Temurah goes away, there wouldn't be any Malchus in this case. Perhaps that's his raya. And that's shot the Gemara. Hami mili Temurah. That's the word. Temurah is not a Chusei Hegdish. Temurah is not a Chusei Hegdish. You're not making Hegdish. You're just doing Maise Temurah, Oiseh Temurah. And the Eibishter makes the Hegdish. And that's his work. Okay. Sei gesund. Atzlache.